Vice President Nicolette.
Good afternoon.
I am here. Trustee Mayberry. Trustee Rodriguez. Trustee Church.
Here.
Trustee Smith. And Student Representative Ivy. Madam President, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll go ahead. We're going to stand for the pledge, and since it's International Angie Day, I'm going to lead us in the pledge. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to go to our consent agenda, and these are items that are typically routine in nature, as you are aware. And at this point, I'm going to ask if trustees would like to pull any items. Sorry. Do I do that first? Oh, I guess I do. Yes, I do. There are several items that are being requested by staff to be removed. Thank you, JJ. To be removed from the agenda. Excuse me. Agenda item 4.01 is being requested from staff. They want to be able to get some more information. In addition to 5.01, that's related to Assembly Bill 495. And then also agenda item 5.02, excuse me, approval of the major projects A program. There's some questions, and there are some questions as to making sure the plans going forward, that the needs for additional schools, that's actually in order. So staff's going to do a little bit more work on that. So again, 4.01 will be pulled, 5.01 will be pulled, and 5.02 will all be pulled. Okay, now we will go to the consent agenda. And at this time, I will ask if trustees would like to pull any items off of the consent agenda for individual consideration. I do think Trustee Church, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, the only one I want to pull, since we have so much time now, 2.06. And then just for the record, if I might, today is International Dr. Angie Taylor Day because it's your 39th birthday. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
29th.
29, thank you. Yes, get it straight.
29.
Yes, thank you, sir.
And then just also for the record, it's not on consent, but if this goes past 6:30 p.m., I just want to verify the Dodger-Padre game will be displayed on one of the TVs.
Yeah, we'll have a picture-in-picture that we've engaged in that.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to pull for individual consideration 2.06. So we're going to ask staff and any staff to be in place to answer any questions related to that. Before I ask for any further in terms of a motion, do we have any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay.
John Eppolito for consent agenda item 2.04.
2.04. Welcome, Mr. Eppolito.
You're welcome. John Eppolito, former K-12 teacher, 2 kids left in the district. You can find 1,500 of us on Facebook at Protect Nevada Children. I wanted to talk about Teams. It's a Microsoft product. We're spending another $1 million for Teams. How did we do school before all this software came in? I'm not sure. We were all there. I don't know why we need all this now. It would be nice to hear a discussion. The important discussion to have would be, why do we need to spend $1 million on Microsoft products? Bill Gates and Steve Jobs both raised their kids tech-free, and it should have been a red flag for the rest of us. These products are for our kids, not their kids. Melinda Gates, I spent my career in technology, and I wasn't prepared for its effect on my kids. I guess Bill and Melinda still agree on something. This article is from the New York Times from 2011. A Silicon Valley school that doesn't compute. No devices until high school in this school. Since then, several other schools in Silicon Valley have opened like that. People that have money, people that are profiting from these devices, don't send their kids to schools that use them. The important discussion to hear would be, why do we need to spend $1 million for Teams? My child of my 4 kids that got the best education in this district didn't use Teams. It was just before Teams. In my opinion, as a 6-year teacher, things have diminished quite a bit, and a lot of it is because of the technology. And that's one thing. Hopefully the superintendent wants to focus on improving education. In my mind, and many experienced teachers' minds, that would be less technology, more improving education. So hopefully that will happen. We hear it's going to. This would be a great time to have a discussion about Teams. Why do we need it?
Thank you, Mr. Ippolito.
Margaret Martini for consent agenda item 2.04.
Welcome, Ms. Martini.
Margaret Martini, Incline Village. I too sent my kids to Incline Village schools. Maybe you say back in the dark ages, but they learned something. They didn't learn something like this at the dining room table or with their phones. They learned from the teacher interacting with them and actually doing their job of teaching. Spending more than $1 million on yet more software, and it doesn't even indicate what this software is about. What is it about? Is it going to teach them to read better? Is it going to teach them to do mathematics? Is it going to teach them the real history of the United States or how the government works? The screen time is absolutely trashing our educational system because there's no personal contact. And you all probably see that. Everybody's walking around on their phone like this, including 2-year-olds at the table when you go to restaurants. It's ridiculous. And then you guys propagate this by starting the screen thing in kindergarten instead of holding your teachers accountable to actually interacting with the kids and teaching them. Maybe we should all look up the definition of teaching, and I'm sure it doesn't involve iPads. I think it involves one-on-one where the teachers interact with the kids. Spending more and more money on software is an exercise in futility to making good students who can interact with other people. And this nation needs more interaction, more civil interaction with other people. And it's not going to get it by propagating more tech, less human contact. And that's exactly what you're doing, spending more money on this. If you don't have teachers that can teach the stuff that's in this software, then maybe you ought to rethink your hiring process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martini.
Colleen Westlake for consent agenda item 2.03.
Welcome, Ms. Westlake.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I have just teeny bit of experience with this. I was actually the aide to the speech therapist when I was at Vaughn Middle School. I was pulled out of one class every day, working one-on-one with kids with speech impediments. Then when I was in high school, I was pulled out of my classes once a week to help tutor kids that needed special ed over at Roger Corbett across from Worcester High School. All of this technology is not a replacement for the human interaction that they were just speaking about. Kids learn better when they are interacting, when there is a teacher in front of them being demonstrative, when they can see facial expressions, when they feel involved and connected. We are going to remove something from that experience from kids if we keep going down this road. The other side of this, having gone to different events, one was a really big soccer tournament, and I actually spoke to 3 special ed teachers at the soccer tournament. They all told me there is a huge waiting list for kids to get into special ed classes. That tells me this money here would be better spent on hiring more qualified special ed teachers that can work and interact with our children, not screens. So I implore you, I'm begging you to rethink this. This is going to make a lot of money for an organization that's selling this product. Let's give our kids some teachers, not more screens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westbrook.
That's all I have for consent.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Westlake. I'm so sorry. I said Westbrook, Westlake. I'm so sorry. Okay. No, forgive me. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, we'll bring it back here to the table. Thank you for those comments, everyone. Bring it back here to the table for board consideration of consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.05, because we know 06 will be considered individually. Looking for the pleasure of the board on those items? Moved by Trustee Rodriguez. Is there a second? Seconded from Trustee Mayberry. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? The motion is carried. Let the record show that it is unanimous. And then we'll go to consent agenda item 2.06. Okay, consent agenda item, pulling that up right here, 2.06. I believe, is that you, Madam Superintendent? Let's see, where, oh, I'm on the wrong agenda. All right, this is possible action. Yeah, this is possible action for the Board of Trustees to use the office of the General Counsel pursuant to Board Policy 9165 to represent the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees for open meeting law purposes at meetings of the Board of Trustees and Board Policy Committee, as well as other advice requested by trustees pursuant to Board Policy 9165. And this is beginning on the October 12th, 2022, which is tomorrow. And then, so Trustee Church, you have questions on this item?
I do. I think Mr. Lombardo probably might be the first.
Turn your mic. Your mic's not on. Mr. Lombardo, if you would, please. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Trustee Church.
Sure, Mr. Lombardo, if you could just kind of run us through that you think you have the time to do this. What happens if things change? Can we come back? It's kind of, I didn't see an attachment, but I read the information. If you could kind of just
thank you for the question, Neil Lombardo, Chief General Counsel, for the record. Yeah, of course you can go back. You can go back to Board Counsel at any time. It's with the approval of our office, and I'm sure Anthony would be happy to come back. But our with COVID ending and the way the meetings are going, we feel that we can take this on.
And save us some money. The contract ends October 12th, so we're not paying beyond that. That was
no. There's no contract. It's
no, there is no contract.
Right.
It's just meeting by meeting. Okay. Because I remember we voted on it.
Yes, we did. We have to vote on it because it was expenditure. It was a board expenditure.
Okay.
And so we did have to vote on it. Mr. Hall?
Yeah, there's a contract, but there's no notice provision in it. So it's, if you guys decide to go a different direction, you can immediately do that. And so this would in no way violate any kind of contract terms.
Okay, very good. That's basically all I had. And Mr. Hall, we appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the correction. There is a contract. So we did vote on, but there's no time time period for a period of time that we're committed to in that. Okay, thank you, Counsel. Trustee Smith?
All right, seeing no other discussion, I'm happy to make a motion that we approve consent agenda item 2.06 to use the Office of General Counsel pursuant to our board policy.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor from Trustee Smith, a second from Vice President Nicolette. Is there any public comment on this item, JJ? No. Thank you, Counsel. All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? Okay, the motion is carried. Let the record show it is unanimous. And please, Mr. Hall, I'll save my comments for the end of the meeting. I will do that when we have board comments. So, all right, thank you very much. Let's move on. We're on agenda item 3.01. This is presentation to update the Board of Trustees on the use of Pinion Pinion. Oh, yeah, Pinion. Pinion Public Affairs, LLC, for the Strategic Consultation and Government Relations Services for the Washoe County School District during the 2023 Nevada legislative session. This is for information. This is a decision that's made by the superintendent, but because it does have to do with what happens legislatively with us, and it is a change from what we've been accustomed to after having Lindsay do such an amazing job for so many years. So we will turn it over to Dr. Enfield, and she'll introduce our guest, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, President Taylor. Yes, we are joined tonight by Dylan Shaver and
Mike on. There we are.
There we go. With me today is Tess Opferman, who will start as Pinion's government affairs manager. On Monday the 17th.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here. As President Taylor pointed out, with Lindsay's departure, I made the decision that we would contract with a lobbyist rather than hire a full-time person. There's some cost savings there, which of course is helpful. And after spending some time last Thursday with Dylan down in Clark, meeting with some legislators and others, I think we're going to have a great relationship and great support from Pinion as we lobby during this legislative session, which I think many of us think could be a really pivotal legislative session for education potentially. And so we asked Dylan to come and share a little bit about his work and the vision that he has for working with Washoe County School District. So Dylan, Tess, I'll turn it over to you.
Get your mic on, okay.
Well, thank you so much, and for the clarity of the minutes, this is Dylan Shaver, partner at Pinion Public Affairs. I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of you again today. This is not my first project, as you may recall, working with the Washoe County School District, and I'm known to overthink really tiny decisions, and when I was putting together this presentation and we were trying to figure out what slide to use as the cover photo, you know, a lot of people who've worked in politics as long as I have, you walk into their office and what you get is the vanity wall, a picture of them with Senator so-and-so or a bill they got passed or whatever, and mine's really just like pictures that my kids drew me. That's my daughter's most recent rendition of me.
All right.
Overwhelmingly overestimating what a loving person I am. But with that, you can see there is the little plaque I got for my work on the WC1. Both of it's a formal committee, the Public School Overcrowding and Repair Needs Committee, I think we called it.
Peathorn.
And yes, and then on the campaign after that, which to this day has a prominent place on my resume, on my CV that we show to clients as we're recruiting them. But rather than convince you about how charming I am, today I just wanted to talk a little bit about our company, the work we do, and the way we want to apply that work to the Washoe County School District. I will do my best to be brief. I know your meetings have far more consequential things on the agenda than us. Pinion is a firm that I started with some partners about a year and a half ago that we really put together on a shared understanding of the industry, a lot of shared experiences, but really out of a belief that the government affairs landscape in this state was changing in a way that I think other, I don't want to say other firms, but certainly changing in ways that changed the traditional model for government and community relations. Increasingly, because of the free and fast available information, you know, it is no longer enough to have a good relationship with a particular lawmaker or whatever. You have to be able to dial in to the stimuli to which they are responding and find a way to communicate with them and their constituents in ways that we've never been expected to before. We built this business with that sort of service model in mind and around a set of values. Now, I bet you don't see a lot of lobbyists showing up talking about their values, but as a company, we hold these three central to what we do. As a firm, we are intentional. I think that there's a lot of things in this space that just sort of happen through action or inaction, but really without an intended outcome in mind, just sort of the best outcome we could get. We built this firm around sort of honesty, which is critical. We have turned down clients in the past because we are not afraid to say we do not believe what you are looking for is achievable, whether you hire us or anybody. But we think that honesty is really key to maintaining our reputation in the community, but also with policymakers, and really just delivering a level of service that we want to. And then, of course, being thoughtful, being able to put yourself in your client's shoes, being able to sort of understand those stimuli that lawmakers are facing or policymakers are facing. The team we've assembled here has nearly 100 years of public policy experience in the state. Dylan Shaver, I've already told you how wonderful I am, and with me today is Tess Opferman, who we worked together previously at the City of Reno. Tess has been to 4 legislative sessions now?
Three legislative sessions. This will be the 4th.
As well as having served as a liaison from members of the Reno City Council to the communities they represent, again hammering home the quality and the consistency of really communicating directly with the public and understanding how that goes into things. We will be the people you work with mostly on this contract, and supporting us will be our partners. David Goldwater, served in the Assembly from 1995 to 2005, quickly rocketed into leadership from there, got the silver medal, as he calls it, in the race for the Clark County Commission, and joined us for Pinion just last year. And thank you. It was your courtesy is noted, sir. Thank you. Kyle Davis, no stranger to all 17 of Nevada's counties. Kyle is probably one of the hardest working people I've ever met. And then just last July, we were lucky to pick up Sean Gamble. Anybody who has been in this community for more than 30 seconds has interacted with Sean in one way, shape, or form. I'm seeing some nods and some grins in there. Maybe not Ivy here, but go to literally any party, you'll run into her. But she's been deep
emphasis on the party.
Deep into this community for a long time. We were lucky to add her to the team as our Director of Government Affairs, rounding out our legislative session efforts. The service portfolio we provide, and I will get into more of this later, it really falls into 4 categories. Obviously, government and regulatory affairs are sort of what brings us here today. We also, for a handful of clients, engage in community relations, some strategic communications, sometimes crisis communications. That's never how you want to introduce yourself to somebody, and then complex project management and issue management when they come up. Now, as I said before, the way we operate our firm and the way we structure our services, we view these really as 4 components to one effort. All government affairs, particularly quality initiative, is going to employ all of these sort of under one banner. And what we want to make sure is that we are using the tools you need to accomplish your goals. And now, what are those goals? And this is sort of an interpretation based on the conversations and the research we've done going into the contract, which just started a few days ago. And the first and probably most critical is relationship building and management between, really what you have is a young board of trustees, excepting, of course, President Taylor, who turned 29 today, and then and a brand new superintendent, combined with a Nevada legislature that in the Assembly alone, of their 42 members in the 2023 session, 24 of them will be in their first 2 terms. Now, last session doesn't really count. You know, the traditional relationship building that occurs over the course of 120 days, we got maybe a month towards the end, right? And so this creates tremendous opportunity for us to build new relationships and to really build bridges directly between the institution and these policymakers. And I want to emphasize that because a lot of people in my position serve in sort of the role of gatekeeper, which, you know, it's my relationship with the majority leader or the minority leader or the chairperson or whatever. But realistically, it is our job to build the relationship between this policymaker and the school district, so that, you know, should you choose to go a different direction with it, with our services, or, you know, should, God forbid, somebody on the team be on a vacation or whatever, that there is the sort of infrastructure that you need to do what you need to do in our absence. We are just sort of the people who help build that bridge and then maintain that bridge over time, to make sure that there's really a strong back and forth between the two parties. We and the superintendent and I have had several conversations about this, believe that there is tremendous opportunity right now at a time where between, we'll say, bargaining units, between various activists, between various political parties, policymakers are flooded with information, particularly about education, which consistently polls as the sort of most important thing on the ballot. But what they need is a credible way to sort that information. And I believe that is where the real opportunity for WCSD comes into play. You know, there is, for lack of a better term, but I don't think it would be surprising, no, there is some drama in some of the other school districts that just isn't happening right here. There is a lot of credibility coming out. Church is over here looking at me like he's about to start some. That's not...
Beth is in charge of it. Trustee Smith is in charge of that.
I will happily filibuster until then, if that's your wish.
And you could do it too, Mr. Shaver. You could do it too.
Noted. So again, what we're looking for is for the opportunity for the superintendent and for this school district to kind of walk the middle path and show up credible day one of 120 and really be able to deliver on your priorities as a district and for the students that you're educating every day. Of course, another thing, and I just sort of started these in kind of order in which we are tackling them. We are here to help craft and execute your legislative platform, which you haven't seen yet. Typically, it looks like you vote on that at your second meeting in January, and you really sort of start getting feedback on it after the November election. There's a lot of smart reasons for that. We get to know what the legislature looks like. We get to know what this board looks like and sort of what your attitudes are. But already there are sort of 49 bills, BDRs filed that contain the word education, 13 for school, 3 for teacher. And we don't even have half of them in yet. And of course, those aren't the only BDRs that the district keeps an eye on. So that platform will sort of be our guiding light as the superintendent is telling us sort of what to do on certain bills, or when we can't get a hold of her and we have to make the call at 11:30 on a Tuesday, how we're going to roll with it. Like I said, the composition of the legislature does create opportunities, but there are also tremendous risk. And I cannot understate the risk to this institution in particular that key retirements will have in the legislative process. Very few lawmakers I have ever worked with have been as budget savvy as Senator Kieckeffer, and his retirement and sort of understanding of that process is going to be a big loss for this community. Senator Ratty and her understanding of what the role of government is and it should be, and her passion for delivering for this community. Teresa Benitez Thompson, you know, to have risen to the rank of majority leader, I don't think really since Bernie Anderson chaired the Judiciary Committee for 112 years that this region has been quite so well represented. Thank you for the courtesy laugh. I am keeping notes.
I smile.
And then, of course, you know, Jill Toll's dedication to kids and to education, and her willingness to sort of really take some pretty hard hits to be the moderate voice in her own party. That's going to hit this community. It's not necessarily going to be entirely negative. We, of course, have wonderful people who are replacing them, I say in no particular direction, but who we know will be advocates, but it will reestablishing that sort of seniority is going to take time, and one of the things that we are very much interested as a firm is sort of helping supplement that with some of the relationships that we do have to really not just to help the organization, but to help the people, turn the people who will be replacing these four and everybody else into advocates for WCSD. And we've got a little bit of runway to do that, and there's a real opportunity with some of these. As I already mentioned, relatively newish board, a new superintendent does allow you to restart your intergovernmental relations kind of relationships at 0 or even +1 if that's where you want to be. And the sort of final opportunity that really we think we can seize upon comes really in the state budgeting process. The state of Nevada's budget is collecting revenue way ahead of schedule. On top of that, I think the vacancy rate, and please don't quote me on this, but the vacancy rate for state positions is hovering at around 25%, which does create significant savings in that state budget going into the 23 legislative session, which typically they use to replenish rainy day funds and for one-off expenditures. So we do see some real opportunities coming up, and we are here as your partner to kind of chase after those. The nuts and bolts, of course, they come along with the services that we've already discussed. Things like bill tracking, monitoring the committees that are important to our business, and really making sure that not just WCSD has a seat at the table. I can tell you from my time at the city of Reno, there was nothing I hated more than when my lobbyist got in line behind 7 other municipal lobbyists to say the exact same things. But we want to make sure WCSD is at the right tables, and really that's what we're here to do. Of course, if I get a call from the general counsel or the superintendent or whoever else saying, no, we need to be on the record for this, then of course we will be. But our job is to identify where is it really going to be valuable, where is our time going to be the most valuable and yield the most impact. All of this goes back again to our service philosophy as an organization. Are we lobbyists? Yes. Are we sort of PR flacks? Of course. But we are a company rooted in strategic planning. And we understand that, like any other client, WCSD does not exist to influence public policy at some external organization. You have a very clear role in educating the children in this community. You've got a leadership role to play in taking care of your own team. But nowhere in your strategic plan is it, let's get this bill passed. And that's true of any of our clients. So the way we position ourselves and what we do as a company is the services we can provide and the tools in the Pinion toolbox are available to you in accomplishing those goals. This is an externality to those goals, and of course it's one that has to be overcome. It can be a hurdle or it can be an accelerant, and we want to make sure that it best serves your interests broadly. But again, if there is a place where Pinion can plug in to help accomplish the strategic goals of the Washoe County School District, that's where the value is, and that's what we are here to do. So while we will of course focus on the 120 days coming up next spring, our hope is that is all in service of the superintendent's and yours larger priorities and your larger goals. I am happy to field any questions. I hope this is what you have in mind. We talked about it for about 10 seconds. And Tess isn't just here for window dressing. I just sort of prepared the presentation. Tess, did I miss anything?
No, I think that looked good. As Dylan said, I'll be joining the team Monday, so I'm not even officially part of Pinion yet. But I said I was happy to come to this board meeting because I know I'll be working closely with all of you, and I wanted to have the opportunity to sit in front of you and even get that presentation, because that's the first presentation I've seen of Pinion, even though I know quite a bit about the firm. So I am looking forward to working with all of you, and I think the presentation was excellent. Good job, Dylan.
Thank you, Tess, and thank you, Dylan. I'll open it up to trustees for questions, comments.
I'll just begin, and Dylan Mr. Shaver referred to this himself, but he really has a long history of working on educational issues, and specifically, directly, hands-on on the public schools piece, on public schools, repair needs, and overcrowding committee.
We probably, in retrospect, could have come up with a shorter name.
It really, Peace Horn, and people still don't, but nonetheless, but the work that you did with that, I mean, a big challenge in the community to, and thanks to the late Senator Debbie Smith, to pull the folks together and then get some consensus as to what direction we should go in, for the betterment for the schools in our community, and then to, flip the role around and then begin to work on the monumental task of getting it passed. I mean, it was just incredibly impressive, and Mr. Shaver was really a key component, if not the key component, to really making sure that happened. So as much as Lindsay is amazing, and we're going to miss her, already miss her. There's no question about that, no question at all. But I was excited. I was a little apprehensive. Oh, we're gonna hire a consultant, but Lindsay's so good. And so on. And then when she said, hey, I've had some conversations with Pinion, you might know him, Dylan Shavers. Oh, yeah. I said, hey, he's got some good connections and good history behind him and all of that. And we can just tell by your presentation, all of us, I've known of you probably longer than anyone else here, but just the way that you explain how you do what you do is not, we didn't just hire a lobbyist firm. In that, and so you're taking the lead on this, and then Tess, having with the involvement you've had in the community, with some of our partners that we work with in the community, and gives you a really good perspective on the Washoe County School District as well. So I'm excited about, things look different sometimes as we move forward. So I'm excited about the hands that we're in as we go ahead. So those are my comments. Trustee Mayberry, I saw you, and then Trustee Church, and then I have a question, but I just want to get those comments out first. So Trustee Mayberry, then Trustee Church.
Thank you, President Taylor. Welcome. Nice to see you. Just a couple quick questions. We talked a little bit earlier. This is a bit of a departure, having a firm. So I think this board would probably want to know, in terms of your workload and the other clients you represent. Is that something I could ask you about? How many clients you have, and if you have the capacity and maybe some of the notable clients you're also serving?
Of course, that's an absolutely inbounds question. And again, just because it's been a minute, this is Dylan Shaver, partner at Pinion Public Affairs. For the record, I don't know how you do record keeping, but it's...
that was good.
So to Trustee Mayberry, we don't, first and foremost, before we take on any new work, we do a pretty thorough analysis of whether or not we can take a project of that size on. And don't get me wrong, this is a big one. Mm-hmm. And after our first conversations, the partners met and we said, well, we want to make sure if we take this on, we have the time to dedicate to it. And so it allowed us, I think Tess was always on the sort of long-term plan to bring into the organization, but this has allowed us to sort of accelerate that plan and bring her in and make sure that you have the coverage you require. The firm itself, we represent, I think, 19 clients today, maybe 20 spread across the entire team. I'm certainly not dealing with those on a day-to-day basis. There are probably 5 that get my sort of day-to-day attention, but in the last 11 days, this one has sort of moved to the top of that list. But again, we want to make sure that we can serve every client we have. That's very important to us. So we did a couple of things. One, we sort of added a staff member specifically so we can dedicate a chunk of her time to this project. And at no point do I intend to sort of be here sort of explaining why we missed one thing or another. We're confident that we have the bandwidth required. As towards our other clients, I don't walk around with a list in my pocket, though my understanding is, and I should acknowledge, my partner Kyle Davis, who has shown up to show his support today, is in the audience today, and he may very well keep that list in his pocket. But we really concentrate on three areas. One is natural resources, where we do represent a handful of mining companies, as well as solar energy developers, as well as conservation groups. We have an expertise sort of in the technology area. We have a manufacturer of automated vehicles. We have sort of a ride share company. We have a very high-tech transportation company as well. We have then naturally a base in transportation issues, and now we're sort of adding on education as well. So again, we wouldn't be here today if we didn't have the capacity, but I would put on you, if you ever feel like you're not getting top-notch service, please let us know.
One more.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. No, I'm comfortable with that response. And the other question I have is, maybe it's more along the lines of a statement, but as you may know, and I don't want to, you don't need to get in the weeds with the response, but we have 5 associations in this organization, and I just, it's important to me that, and perhaps my colleagues, that there's, you reach out to them, that a relationship is built with them, and that somehow we're in alignment during the session. You have any thoughts, any reactions to that statement?
So when you say 5 associations in this organization, we're talking about your bargaining units. We're talking about, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, just the other day in Las Vegas, the superintendent, and I think my last text message to her was about this very topic, how best to, build out those relationships and frankly show up to the 2023 session together without butting heads, which frankly, again, I don't know if you follow what happens in any of the other school districts in the state, would be a wonderful counterpoint to paint for the legislature as they hear from some of your counterparts.
And to that end, Trustee Mayberry, I will just add that Dylan did just reach out to me about sort of making it a group effort, and Kaylin Evans, who is the head of one of those associations, is in the audience, and I let him know that Dylan would be here so that they could hopefully meet each other as well. I think there's strength in numbers when we want to have an impact on advocating for our children and staff, so we're really excited by that opportunity.
We certainly have some shared interests, with our association. So, thank you, Trustee Mayberry. Trustee Church?
Yes. First of all, thank you for not charging a 2-drink minimum for the humor. We appreciate it. And I've got a few questions, so just try to not filibuster so I can catch that Dodger-Padre game. And also, we've interacted in the past on that WC1, and you did run an excellent campaign on that, I have to say. Number one, I like the idea of having backup. In other words, if we have a lobbyist and they're sick or family emergency, we're just out of luck. So I just love that idea. My first, and I know I'm not asking questions, but my first thought when I read this and I saw $91,000 was this really should have come to us as an action item. But then sleeping on it, I realized we have to trust our superintendent, our leadership team, and that's probably saving money over what we would spend for, a full-time employee with benefits and everything.
It's roughly half the cost of what Lindsay's.
Awesome,
with,
yeah.
with benefits and so on.
So once I saw, at first, you go, I wasn't, and then, yeah, sleeping on it, we trust our new superintendent, we trust our leadership team, so I've got.
If I may jump in just on that piece, Trustee Church, please don't lose your thought. One, thank you, right, for that. And then additionally, just from informationally, board policy requires anything at $100,000 or more to come this way. Less than that, it does not have to come this way.
Yeah, I looked that up. I saw Mr. Mathers signed it, and yeah, he's within that 91,000, so we're all good. One question, 2 questions real quick. Number one, in the contract it talks about lodging and per diem. Carson City is local, right? We don't pay anything unless it's in Vegas or somewhere.
That is right. Yeah, Carson City is within the scope of our regular travel and the regular provision of service. And really for trips to southern Nevada, we if it is the kind of thing where the request is that we go down just for WCSD, we would bill for that. But our preference is to find sort of business for multiple clients if we're going to make the trip down, so that we can kind of spread that out a little bit. And you're not, Southwest being what it is these days, it's no longer the days of a $100 round trip, and we recognize that.
And now you have Zoom and Teams and all that. So, and I did look up your lobbyist from last year, did my homework on this. I didn't know you were so funny, but I did my homework on it. And yeah, I didn't see any, not like you're representing somebody that would be competing, like a teachers union where we might have a conflict. I saw exactly what you said, the energy and the mining and all that. The only other question I have, what if there was a hearing, and I don't know who I'm asking, well, I have two questions. What if there was a hearing at a state regulatory board or something? Because one of those just came across my radar screen. Is that something you would do, not the legislature, but if we needed to represent ourselves at a state hearing, if that makes sense? Is that something within your contract?
You can go ahead and then I'll go.
The way we envision it is if Pinion is your best tool to engage with that regulator, then absolutely. On the regulatory end, we've seen a lot of success acting more as shepherds than as representatives.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a finance issue, and I'll just use him because, well, he might have left the room, but I've got experience working with Mr. Mathers in the past, and he's going to be your best voice on that, and it's just my job to sort of whip votes and tell my little jokes and all of that, then that's how we approach it. If there were, something at GoEd where we very well may be the best representative you have there, then we're going to be the ones going in there. Okay. But we do, one way or the other, we do view that as an included service.
And Trustee Church, can I just add to that, for example, if there are, regs that are being proposed, the State Board of Education, we will often have staff there to represent. So, yes.
And one just came up, and I can't send it because we're not allowed to during meetings, so it's in my queue, but that's kind of popped. That's why it was in my brain. And then finally, and I'm thinking you'll know this, Nevada Revised Statute 281 basically says public officers are prohibited from requesting or otherwise causing a governmental entity to incur expenses or expenditure in support or opposition of a ballot measure or candidate. But yet we're hiring you to lobby for things. Have you dealt with that issue before? My guess is that because it hasn't yet become a ballot issue, we can lobby for it?
I apologize. I need just sort of another sentence in this question to
what's
to answer
the
the
it,
right thing.
I think.
Yeah.
Or it might be an Anthony Hall question.
Well, yeah, and I think sometimes we'd have to give them a little time to dig into it a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, someone said it, I think, what is the it?
Pardon?
What is the it in that question kind of matters specifically?
So it just always struck me as that we're spending taxpayer money, and for the taxpayer, we're holding an open meeting before we ever establish our legislative agenda, platform. So we're doing it in an open public forum, and we're doing it with public input, et cetera, et cetera. But it just always struck me when I was on that side of the dais that we're spending public money. And I'm very cognizant of that. And perhaps something we endorse, beyond a doubt, there's going to be someone that doesn't like it. So maybe you're not the right person to ask, and maybe it's just something down the road. But I just want to make sure we stay within the rails.
I'm not sure. Help me with the question. I was tracking with you.
Uh-huh.
You said that we're spending public money to ask opinion to come in and so on, and undoubtedly someone's not going to like it. I didn't help me keep going.
Is there a legal limit to what Pinion can do? I guess that's my question, or what we can do.
What we can ask Pinion to do on our behalf?
Yes.
Is that where you're going?
Yes.
That's one I would have to look into.
Yeah.
I mean,
No problem.
That's a new issue to me, and I'm not going to be your guy going forward.
Sorry.
So,
I can't run up your bill.
With a punt.
I was trying to get you a little going away something.
Well, fortunately,
Though I think I can take a stab as not your attorney, not an attorney, and therefore not anybody's attorney. At Pinion, we take sort of our ethical responsibility to our clients very, very seriously. And so when we look at sort of that particular section of 281, certainly if there is a thing on the ballot, we cannot advocate on WCSD's behalf any more than the superintendent can.
We can't either, right?
Because we are basically her agent, and we have to be very cognizant of the fact that things we do in the community, we are doing on your behalf. And so, we take those sort of ethical obligations very, very seriously. When it comes to things like adopting platforms, I can tell you that when I was at the city of Reno for those 3 years, we adopted 2 legislative platforms over there. It's sort of de rigueur for a government entity because it sort of takes you out of the position of having to vote on your positions on every single bill, which I think is better for everybody. But and I don't think it really triggers the provisions of 281, but that's a question for Mr. Holland, not for me.
That's it. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Go, please.
No, I'm done. Thank you.
And I would just add to that. That is why we have a platform and do it in that way, because it's just unwieldy. It's not. We can't have an expectation that every time there's an issue that comes up in the legislature that we have an opportunity to post for a meeting, and then come back here and then vote for it, and then it doesn't happen that way. So that's why a platform allows Lindsay, before opinion in this case, to be able to maneuver and stay in contact with the superintendent, which will take me to a question that I have along the way, because there's no time for that, but it still stays in alignment with what the board has generally laid out in terms of our platform. So that's just something that's been important to do, because it just wouldn't be able to happen for us to come back and vote on every single little thing. But by the time we had posted for a public meeting and the issue would be over, it'd be done, and we'd still be having public comment, right? No, I mean, just because people want to weigh in, which is not a bad thing, but we would miss the opportunity to really have any kind of an influence on it at all. So that's why it's really been set up in that way. Which leads me to, so thank you, Trustee Church, good questions, which leads me to, in your mind, as you envision this, and this is new for all of us, right, because we're used to Lindsay having been here, what does it look like in terms of the role, if any, of the board? Now, in the past, most of the day-to-day, because it does happen like this, right, has really been taken care of with Lindsay and with the superintendent. Because again, and then, or Mr. Mathers, or it was Pete at the time, when any of the senior leaders, when things are happening, committee meetings, and needed information, and you always need it immediately, and all of that, and that's certainly outside of our purview as trustees. And then from time to time, Lindsay would ask if the board president, usually the board president, there were times when it'd be more of us or something, would go down and testify. That's typically, but it was fairly limited. How do you see it? Because I know we do have trustees who certainly are willing to and would like to say, how can we get involved in helping with some of those things?
I think that there is tremendous value in involving the trustees, but I want to say sort of something pretty clearly from the outset. I am happy to interact with any of you as individuals, and if there are measures of particular concern that you're following or whatever, and you want a phone call to loop in, we are happy to do that. That said, again, having been basically an assistant city manager for 3 years, I have to sort of defend the form of government that says you pick the superintendent and the superintendent tells me what to do. So while I'm happy to have those conversations, certainly I do not want to put the superintendent or my firm in the position of sort of having to respond to you all individually. Mm-hmm. We will, and if there, like I said, we will loop you in, but in terms of taking direction, we're going to take it from precisely one place. I do think, though, a frustration for me, whether it has been as a lobbyist or as a government employee or now sort of back in this role, is the sort of infighting between elected officials who represent the exact same constituents. that is perpetually frustrating, where you've got a school district, a city council, a county commission, and a state legislature, and somewhere there's a through point where there are people who are all representing the exact same neighborhood, and they are not on the same page about things, and frankly almost refuse to be. And I think if there's one place where, and I don't want to jinx anything, I will knock on wood, if there is one problem that you specifically are positioned to help us solve, it is that. It was a problem that Julia Ratty before you was able to help us solve. That is a very serious issue. There's sort of weird turf wars as if you are not all elected by the same people every 2 years. And I think that showing the right trustees' face in the right rooms can help break down some of those silos in a way that I don't know that we haven't tried before. I know everybody is very busy. I know that you are all essentially volunteers, and so we don't want to waste your time, but if there's an opportunity to have you in the right room, then I think that we need to exercise that.
And I think, thank you for that, Mr. Shaver, because I think that knowing that and saying, hey, this is how, basically, hey, how can we help? It's kind of more of that. How can we help? And as you said, there are relationships that we could take advantage of. So it may make sense. It's great to have Trustee Church in that room because there he has or whatever, or Trustee maybe, or whatever the case may be. And I think as a whole, the board is willing to help in any way that we can when it comes down to that platform. But looking for your guidance and absolutely expecting that to go through the superintendent. You shouldn't come up, see one day, oh, I'm down there to make public comment on an issue and you had no idea. That kind of thing should just not happen because we're in this thing and we need to work on that together. And certainly it's the superintendent services as that place that we all kind of bounce off of, if you will. Thank you. Questions, comments? Others? Yes, Tess?
Oh, I wanted to, if there aren't more questions, wanted to give the opportunity for Kyle to step up and just say hello, because I know that Dylan's intent was to allow all of us to introduce ourselves.
Okay.
So Kyle, I'll step back.
Come on up.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Kyle Davis. I'm a partner at Pinion Public Affairs with the team that you have that Dylan has shown you in his presentation today. He's always been our master of presentation, so I'm glad you got to see that. But yeah, happy to be here. I'm certainly here at your disposal, as well as the rest of the team. Obviously, Dylan and Tess will be your leads there, but we certainly at our firm take it as an all-in approach where you have access to all of us. As Dylan mentioned, in terms of our expertise areas, I probably do more of the natural resources and transportation space, but certainly have paid attention to education policy over the years. Just like my partner, my wife and I have 2 kids in the Washoe County School District system, so very interested in the success of this district and the schools, and want to make sure that we can be a part of that team to make sure that we have success this session.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Davis. We look forward to it. And just a side note, I had an opportunity in a totally different context to meet your other partner, Mr. Goldwater, and he was very excited about this opportunity with the district. So that was just kind of cool. So, Madam Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I also just want for the trustees to understand a little bit too about how important I think this is, and how in my prior role as superintendent in Washington, worked very hard with our team to be good partners to our legislators, to make ourselves available for information, to weigh in on issues, so that we were really seen as the trusted district in the state on issues. And that is, and Dylan and I have had conversations that we very much want the Washoe County School District to be that go-to district for our legislators, that they see us as people who will be willing to weigh in on issues and share our expertise and information when it's appropriate. And so, as I said earlier, Dylan's already been scheduling time for me with legislators to begin building those relationships so that when session starts, we can hit the ground running. So it's going to be good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. This is not an action item, it's information, but thank you for taking the time, all of you, to come and for jumping in to partner with us, and we're excited as we move forward. I love the opportunities you spoke about, so that gets me excited as well.
thank you. We're very excited.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that was legislative items. We'll go down to, we don't have a budget item that was pulled for more work to be done. So we'll go down to agenda item 5.03, 5.03. This is award of bid number 23-09-B-08-DA, demolition and abatement of various buildings at the new Debbie Smith Career and Technical Education, or CTE Academy High School, to Integrated Demolition and Remediation, Inc. for $7.6 million. And it says, oh, here's Ms. Zimmerman.
Right on time.
Just, I was like, it says Ms. Zimmerman, I don't see her this year. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. For the record, my name is Tammy Zimmerman. I'm the Chief Facilities Management Officer for the district. So we're here to talk about a possible action and an approval of the demolition and abatement award contract to this contractor. But I want to give you guys a little bit of history for it. Back in February of 2022, we went and came to the Capital Funding Protection Committee and asked for a funding stream for this, and it was $125 million that we asked for. That was then moved on to the Board of Trustees and approved for $125 million, but the total construction cost that was allocated out of that was $112 million. So the remaining $13 million was set aside for professional services and FF&E. So we were looking at $112 million for a budget for Debbie Smith at that time. So our construction manager at risk, Q&D Construction, put it out in the spring of 2022 for a bid, and it came in for construction of $147 million. So that was, we had a little bit of a deficit. So then we came back and thought it was prudent to go to the Capital Funding Protection Committee and then ultimately to the board and provide options to move through this process to still do something on this site. And so we came away from that Capital Funding Protection Committee and the board with a recommendation to repackage and to rebid these items. And we also looked at specifications and timing for this to see what we could do and produce a construction project in the fall of 2022. So we went back to the drawing board with our partners, our Van Wert-Bergodi, who's our architect, as well as our contractor Q&D, and came up with a schedule and a phasing of this that has, based off of this, has been advantageous. So we came up with this first phase, which is demo and abatement. It was projected in their GMP, guaranteed maximum price, at $15.3 million. We have a bid for $7.6 million. So we saved quite a bit of money going back to the drawing board and looking at those specifications. I want to caution that I don't know that the rest of it's going to be 50% of what this is. So,
You're setting an expectation.
I'm setting some expectations. We're optimistic, but we feel like we have a good product here and a good bid to award. It was competitively bid. We received one bid. While we had a lot of participation at our pre-bid with contractors, we did only receive one sealed bid. We did receive one by email, but that doesn't work with the process and so was not allowed to be put into this. So with that, you guys are probably thinking, what other phases or where do we go from here, right? So when we met with our partners, we came up with 4 phases, this being the first one. The second one would be a site improvement, grading, creating foundation pads, looking at utilities and that. So that will go out to bid, anticipated to go out to bid with our partner Q&D from mid-December to mid-January of 2023, and look to come and award that at a March board meeting, and then hit the ground running as soon as this contract is done, April 1. So looking to really start, opening up the ground and putting those footings and foundations in with that. So that's phase 2. Phase 3 is the main anchor building, the brand new main anchor building in the center of campus, and the tenant improvements for the remaining buildings that will stay on campus. And that's anticipated to bid from April to May and come back and award in July of 2023 for the remainder of that. So that's the third phase. And then the fourth phase is landscaping. We anticipate putting that out to bid in the fall of 2024. And that would be all of this put back into a package to produce what we have shown you guys previously for the Debbie Smith CTE Academy High School.
Okay. Questions, anyone? Anyone from us? This is the action item, and what we're looking at here for the first step of this is to award the bid, right, as explained by Ms. Zimmerman, and then the second part, which is the next agenda item, would include approving the agreement. Okay, two different steps, right? Award the bid and then approve the agreement. Trustee Smith?
Thank you, President Taylor. First, I think, Ms. Zimmerman, this is your first presentation to us in your new title as Chief Facilities Management
I've
Officer.
noticed, I'm like, hey, that's a promotion title. All right, congratulations.
Moment to recognize that.
Very good.
I think this is great. I mean, when we talked about doing the stages and trying to find value, you're right, don't get our expectations up, but you are demonstrating that you're adhering to that goal and you're delivering on it with this stage. So I'm very pleased with the work that went into it, and I am also very pleased with the savings that this presents.
Fantastic. Thank you, Trustee Smith. Trustee Church, and then Trustee Mayberry.
Thank you. I want to share with you and the fellow trustees, maybe you know that I was a no vote on the idea of the phased approach. I wanted to wait and just see where the economy was, look at my crystal ball, and do it all at once, but not spend it piecemeal. That said, when I first saw this again, I'm thinking, oh God, I'm going to be another no vote, and I'm really torn because this allows us to have vacant land as opposed, right? Basically, they haul everything off as opposed to having buildings where kids could hurt themselves, trespassers, homeless, security risks, all that. So that's not lost on me. And I did email Mr. Searcy, very responsive late at night. Don't have to do that, but thank you on the fact that it is cost savings over kind of what we anticipated. You basically answered my next question on the next step. And again, the only thing in my brain is crystal. Well, I have a few things, not much in there, but on the economy, which way is it going to go? If it cools, you get lower bids. But I think I'm a yes on this, but I just wanted to share that, and thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Church. I will say this on that, and this really the caution about making sure we aren't wasting money. I hear that from this is half. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. Right, this is half. So it sounds like now every step won't be that way. I heard you manage your expectations, right? But going in, I mean that's quite a hefty cost savings that I think we can feel good about in terms of managing those resources going forward. So,
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Trustee Mayberry?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Thank you very much. I support this. Can you tell us why it came in nearly half? Was there a reason for that?
Well, part of it is the scheduling, right? Contractors have more time. We have a summer, and they're all very busy doing all of that work. So shifting the timetable for that. We also worked on the specifications for the asbestos and lead procedures for it, and was able to reduce those with the county. So able to reduce that means that we don't have to put as many measures in place. So that's time and money that we save.
Okay, happy to make a motion.
Please, go ahead, Trustee Mayberry.
Move to approve the bid for demolition.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, public comment, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. No public comment, it's okay, thank you very much. Please go ahead, Trustee Mayberry.
We good? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you.
And the Board of Trustees move to approve the bid for demolition and abatement of various buildings, Debbie Smith Career and Technical Education Academy High School, to integrated demolition and remediation. Thanks.
For the amount?
For the amount of $7.6 million.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
Trustee
ma'am.
Mayberry. Is there a second to that? Second, Trustee Manetto. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? All right, the motion carries. Let the record show it is unanimous, so we approve the awarding of the bid as recommended by staff. And then we'll just keep going and slide right over to, then we'll move right over to the agreement. Now, this is the agreement for the professional services.
This is for professional services for forensic and analytical services they actually go in and work through the process of our asbestos and lead abatement. They're certified to be in those containments to do that work and to make sure that we're following all the rules and meeting all the county requirements. So this is actually for professional services for construction management over those types of services.
So this is a part really of that.
This is an extension of
It's an extension of that. We couldn't do this. The first part had to happen first. The bid, we're going to do this. Okay, great, we're awarded. And then the second part is, okay, now we have to make sure we do it right.
Right.
with this piece right here, and these are the hazmat suit folks that go in and do all of that.
Yes, they
Okay.
get to go in and monitor all that.
Mhm.
And we couldn't do
Monitor.
this portion until we did
Till
the
we did
first
the
one.
first portion. That's the piece I wanted to get straight. Okay. Any questions on that? First of all, any public comment on this piece of it? No? Okay, thank you. We're on agenda item 5.04, which is the approval of the agreement for professional consulting services with Forensic Analytical Consulting Services, or FACS, for project management and oversight for site demolition and abatement. This is the oversight of site demolition and abatement of various buildings at the new Debbie Smith Career and Technical Education CTE Academy High School. This is for $197,710, as described by Ms. Zimmerman.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Nicolette. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second, we'll go Trustee Rodriguez for the second. Any discussion further on this? This is to make sure that they go in and it's being monitored, and we're doing what the county is requiring us to do.
Absolutely,
In those
yes.
areas for abatement. Thank you. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? Okay, the motion carries. Let the record show it is unanimous. You were 2 for 2 on your first day, huh? Make sure Adam hears that on your way out. So, yeah. All right, thank you very much. Nice job. Okay, we're on to agenda item 5.05. This is a presentation to update the Board of Trustees on the entry plan for Dr. Susan Enfield, Superintendent of Schools for the Washoe County School District, to include system changes to better focus on specialized instruction and possible action to approve position changes and costs. And we turn this over to Dr. Enfield.
Thank you, President Taylor. Well, as promised, I thought that the trustees and the general public would like to see how I've been spending my time. I officially hit the 3-month mark last Thursday. And I know, right? Time is flying. And somehow it is already October. So wanted to just share with you where I am in the entry plan and some of the things that I have been doing as promised. So with that, let's go. So just as a reminder, I laid out these 3 top priorities in the entry plan that I shared with you a couple of months ago. And it's really about getting back to basics for our students and focusing on instruction, really building trust with our families and community, and also making sure that as a system we're supporting our staff to feel seen and supported and successful in their positions. There are 3 phases to this entry plan. As you see, we're through phase 1 and we're now into phase 2, where I'm actually able to start really analyzing and reflecting on what I'm hearing, what I'm learning, that will end up leading to recommendations that I will bring to you in December on things that I might be doing moving forward. And then, of course, in December, we will be talking about launching our strategic planning process, which is very exciting. And we just issued the RFP for the facilitator for that, as it will be a really, really broad community engagement opportunity that I'm excited about. So here's what I've been doing, getting to know staff. So I think with Diedrichson today, we're up to 44 school visits. So I've been in 44 schools, and really, really enjoying what I'm seeing in classrooms. I've actually been to Incline twice. I promised Ivy I would get back for a second visit before the snows arrive. So really getting out and talking with staff. Had my first Soup with the Soup at Dilworth, which was a wonderful opportunity. I will be doing another one of those in the next several weeks. And then had my first soup session with principals in our Spanish Springs vertical. And again, we'll be having another one of those next month. But these have been great opportunities for me to informally engage in conversation with staff. There's no PowerPoint, there's no agenda. It's really just for me to hear what's going on. And I also just need to say, I have been in many classrooms now. And there is extraordinary work happening in our schools. We have gifted teachers. We have extraordinary students. And what I see is the furthest thing from failure that I could think of. And so, as I say, we know we have plenty of work to do. Lots of areas to improve, and 2 things can and must be true at once. We can acknowledge those areas, and we can really celebrate all the outstanding work that's happening across our schools. I also did my first lunch and learn. These are opportunities for me to meet with departments. And of course, I meet with my leadership team on a regular basis, and our employee associations. Having regular meeting with all of our association leaders has been also critically important. And this was from our lunch and learn with the human resources team. And then, of course, you all saw today for yourselves at Diedrichson the joy that is a Ducky Award. I just want to take a moment to thank the staff across the district who have just embraced this idea with enthusiasm that I had not anticipated. I think I got 3 nominations today. So people are really taking time to send me reasons why one of their colleagues needs to be honored. And I am so grateful for that because, it's as I said, during the pandemic it was hard to find things to celebrate, but we do have a lot to celebrate. So we will continue to give out our Ducky Awards. And then community engagement. So I've been holding community coffee chats and town hall meetings. I know trustees have attended some of the town hall meetings just so that you also can just hear what are the questions, concerns, and ideas on the minds of those in our community, and frankly to see how your superintendent does in action, right? So I think that's important too. So I've appreciated the trustees' support there, but these town hall meetings and coffee chats are part of my entry plan and an opportunity for the community to get to know me and for me to get to know them. And then, of course, the highlight of it all is our Student Advisory Council, which Ivy and Tegan are leading extraordinarily well. I have to say, I attended the first meeting, and that was wonderful. So really grateful to everyone who's been turning out. And we do have we actually even had a coffee chat last week during break, and I think we had about 25 people. So yeah, it was a very, very good turnout. So, and I want to thank the schools that are hosting those. Really appreciate that. And then connecting with our community leaders and organizations. I've been meeting with lots of folks around the community down in Clark County. And this is just ongoing work. As I've said, there's a long list of people that would like to meet. And so I continue to ask for people's grace and patience. I promise I will get to everybody, but it's just going to take me a minute. But I've appreciated all the opportunities to meet with those in the community. And again, I'll just sort of acknowledge some points of pride, and this is what I've said, that we have amazing students and staff, and our families and our community are, I think, incredibly supportive, and our school police officers care deeply for our students as well, and I see that in action each and every day, and so that is a lot for us to be proud of. And here are the areas of focus that I've identified to date, and I'm going to share with you some action, actually, that I'm planning on taking soon. So one of the 4 C's, I talk about: coherence, communication, celebration, and care. Coherence, and I talked about this in my staff message, is how do we move from being just a collection of great schools and departments to being one system that's focused on the same thing, that's moving in the same direction. And another area of focus that you've heard me talk about, and this is where Dylan will help, is our funding at the state and district level. I am increasingly concerned that we will continue to struggle to staff our district at every level, not just teachers and bus drivers and aides, but at every level, if we can't do something there. We know that our teachers need more prep time and support. The substitute shortage is continuing to mean that our teachers are losing their own prep time because they're covering for other folks. We did give back 2 PLC times for the first semester so that they could get that, but we know that this continues to be an area of need. And we also know that we need to really focus on our student populations who experience the greatest academic disparities. And when we begin our quality of education updates next month, we will be doing deeper dives into disaggregated data so that we can see how particular groups of students are doing. And then not just admiring the problem, but talking about what can we do about it? What are some of those strategies? And I will say that the one area of real concern that I have heard from, and I heard this even before I started, but it has continued to come up, and I think we actually heard some concerns tonight, is around special education. And so one of the things that I have decided and wanted to share with the board, and I think I have talked about this with some of you, is right now Jen Van Tress, who's one of our area superintendents, oversees special education and a set of over a dozen schools. Jen, yeah. Jen's great. That's not a one-person job. It's too much. And I can tell you right now that in the school system that I led, that was a third the size of this, we had 2 directors just to oversee special education services. Special education is complex, and I think it is an area that the Washoe County School District has been challenged with for a while. Challenge is not unique to this district. Most districts do. But we need dedicated leadership to really look at how we are serving our students with special needs, how we are engaging with their families in respectful and effective ways, and what systems do we need to put in place to do that better. So I'm pleased to say that we will, Jen will soon be our Associate Superintendent. Thank you very much. Associate Chief. Thank you. I'm horrible with titles. I apologize. Our Associate
It's on the
Chief-
agenda.
I know. I'm trying to riff a little bit.
Okay,
You
all
know.
right,
Yes,
all
but
right,
thank
all
you.
right,
Yes,
sorry.
I know
No,
it's
he's
on
got
the
a game.
agenda.
Don't be riffing
Yeah,
too
yeah.
much.
No. Don't worry. I'm wrapping it up, Trustee Church. It's John, yeah. Overseeing our special programs, and I'm grateful for that because I am confident that that will allow us to provide a much higher quality level of service for our students, our families, and our staff. I didn't feel that this was something that I could wait on, given what I'm hearing from families and staff around the concerns. And so in discussions with Dr. Parks, our Chief Academic Officer, we made the decision to move forward on this so that come, I think, January is our goal, we'll be able to make that transition. And we have high hopes for the improvements that we know Jen will bring to this area. And I share that because I think it's important for the trustees and the community to know that while I'm absolutely listening and learning, I am also learning about some things that need some attention now. And I'm not going to wait to act during this time. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. I am very grateful that Jen has agreed to step into this role, and again have high hopes for what is to come. And so with that, I will come back to you with actually a final report, if you will, from this entry plan in December, where I will have a more comprehensive set of recommendations and things that I plan to do moving forward. But that's really sort of the summary to date. I think, yep, that's it. Okay. That's the last slide. Questions?
Okay, any questions for Dr. Infield on this? Thank you for the update, the phase 1 going into phase 2. Report on this. I will ask, before we take trustee comments, let's see if we have no public comment on this one. Okay, Trustee Church.
Number one, could you explain that RFP you're mentioning?
Yes, we put out an RFP for a facilitator to help with our strategic planning process that will begin in January, because when developing a strategic plan, this has been my experience. The process is probably more important than the plan itself. How you engage staff, how you engage community, how that plan ultimately reflects the values of the community, not just the district, and is something that everybody can buy into. And it takes a lot of coordination to have somebody help us do that. So that our RFP is out now.
What would be the cost of that we anticipate, or do we know? And what would be the values that we would look for in the individual or the company that responds?
So I think a ballpark would be around $100,000 is about typical for that kind of work, Trustee Church. And in terms of values, I'm not looking for a company who has particular values. I'm looking for a company and facilitator that has a real skill set and a track record of engaging with communities in a proven way that leads to a really strong product. Right, but that knows that the process is as important as the product. So I'm looking for someone with a track record in doing this kind of work.
And I have a number of other comments, but I can wait. I think my other trustees might have some.
No, why don't you go ahead? Go ahead,
Okay.
Trustee Church.
More comments, and then if you want to respond. I agree. Going to the classrooms today, I spoke to some teachers that wonderful teachers, wonderful staff, wonderful principals, wonderful students. Are in my district, Incline, basically the best public school in the state, if I recall. So yeah, it's the at-risk kids, and those that know me, that's where my heart is. That's what I care about. And as I spoke to the teachers today, the problem is, of course, at 2:30 or 3, they go home, and then we lose control. It's not our fault, but I definitely consider at-risk kids or at-promise kids to be something we need to address. In my own personal opinion, much of that has to be done through big brothers, big sisters, boys and girls clubs, other nonprofits, et cetera. So I just put that on the record. And then to reiterate, I'm 100% supportive of the superintendent. Nothing has changed. Nothing in here changes that. Everything in here I'm 100% supportive of. And of course, once we see the final recommendation, then, we can weigh in at that point. On funding, sometimes that's a code word for new taxes. Clearly, the funding formula is flawed, and if that can be fixed, that gets us more funding without more taxes. I'm not going to be George Bush and say, look at my lips, no more taxes. But if you're going to ask me to support more taxes on a legislative platform, that's a hard sell, and it better have a specific purpose, a sunset. And this is an action item, so I'm bringing it up, because in case there is a vote.
The action item is actually not on the plan. It's on the desire to create a new position. But what you're commenting on is on the plan, so you can still make the comments. It's okay. I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure you know where that.
My mistake.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay.
And then, but again, funding. We definitely want more funding. It's just a hard sell if that's a code word for taxes. And then finally, special ed. I agree 100%. That's part of my always emphasis on recruiting and retention, because when you lose those people, to get new staff in there in special ed is so difficult. And we've had a big lawsuit in the past. And one lawsuit negates, we could have hired so many more teachers or staff or assistants. So I support that 100%. And then finally, what I am hearing, though, is more staff here, more area superintendents, blah, blah, blah. I would, in my mind, speaking individually, hope that we see a reduction in other administrative areas, that we're not cutting teachers. That's a non-starter with me, but that we can cut some. I know we're not cutting fat, we're cutting into muscle, but we're going to have to do some cuts. If we're going to add over here, we're going to have to cut somewhere. Thank you.
I will say this, there's no additional area superintendent, Trustee Church. I want to just make it clear for the record, the additional position that the superintendent is asking for is in special education. Chief. Yes, an associate chief of, so I just wanted to make it clear. I don't want to, we're out there, we're hiring more. So I just wanted the record to be clear on that, so.
May I just say one thing? A little teaser for what I'll be bringing back in December. I am very strongly considering conducting some kind of a management audit for central office to see where we might have some efficiencies that, again, would free up resources for elsewhere. So I just want to put that on the table.
And if I can kind of, while we're on that, and the superintendent, she spent a lot of time with me. We've talked. It's almost, some of it's like she's reading my mind, because she's already telling me her plan, and I'm on board with for example, the Big Brother, reaching out to the nonprofits. I think Dr. Enfield almost made the comments before I did, so I just appreciate that. And again, that's one reason I'm so supportive.
Thank you, Trustee Church. Trustee Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say I'm really happy to see this. I was happy to see this when it came out, and being out in the community, I know you're out there meeting community leaders, because I hear about it. I think I follow behind you shortly thereafter. Other elected officials, Sheriff Balaam, and a number of other people. So I know you're out there, you hit the ground running. I'm just really happy you're here, and I think you're doing an outstanding job so far, and I can't wait to see what else comes. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. And I'd like to take an opportunity to just thank the community and staff and everyone who have been so incredibly welcoming and gracious and eager to meet with me. And this is a community that I think is wildly supportive of its school district. They really want to see us succeed, right? And they want to see our children succeed. And I'm grateful for that. So I do want to thank everyone who's made the time to meet with me and share their concerns and their ideas as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. Enfield and Trustee Rodriguez. Trustee Smith?
Thank you so much, President Taylor. A couple things. One is that Ms. Van Tressa's reputation in this community is unparalleled. She is known as a whisperer in this area, and that was with all the other things you had to do. So I fully support this. I'll be making a motion in a moment, so I'm going to signal that, but I did want to call out that my support is not just for this role, but also for the person that will be in the role. I also want to thank the superintendent. I totally want to echo what Trustee Rodriguez said. When the superintendent and I were at an event, she was the hottest introduction. I had people coming up to me saying, "Can you introduce me to the new superintendent?" So whenever you go, this is true. This is true.
That's true.
We
That's
were
true.
at
It
this
happened to
event,
me.
and anytime anyone goes to any event, look for the people that never have to move. They're the ones staying there, and there's almost a receiving line of people. So I was like her handler, and I was mentioning who everyone was. She stood still at this event, and she never, I had to go get her water because she was the one receiving. But you know, that's just an example of how this community is excited to meet you, how you have been excited to meet them. So I wanted to say thank you. Before I make a motion, I see Trustee Mayberry's light on, so I don't want to, okay. So on that
No,
note,
there's a question around the motion, so why don't we finish with the comments and we'll do with that, okay? If you're okay with that, Trustee Mayberry.
I'm just going to comment.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, this is that time. We're still having discussion.
Well, I mean, I just want to jump in on a love fest, before it ends. But on the special ed piece, I too, when I talk to moms and dads, particularly those that are parents of our kids that have special needs, it's one of the toughest jobs in America, to be a mom and dad with a child that has some special needs some special support. Pardon me, I get a little emotional about it, but it's I think that we've done a decent job, but even things that we do good, we can always do better. And I think I appreciate your leadership. I applaud that you're thinking outside the box, because I think having a administrator focus specifically on children with special needs is going to go a long way in really I think lifting up that that piece that frankly I think from time to time has been, I hate to say overlooked, but that's the sense I have, particularly as I talk to moms and dads. That's the perception. So thank you for doing that, and I echo what Trustee Smith said. And Van Tress has got a great reputation, particularly those that are advocates for our kids with special needs. So thank you for that. Anyways.
And can I just add, President Taylor, that too, and President Taylor brought this to my attention when I shared with her as well that, and Jen Van Trest and I have had this conversation about, I think that there used to be an existing group of families of students with special needs who would advisory group that would meet with the superintendent, and we want to revive that. So I think that in my prior district, we had, they called it a special needs PTA. And I met with them monthly, and it was really invaluable because they were so helpful in helping us see the real trends, of need, and partnered with us on how we could do a better job as a system. And I know that we'll be getting going on that, and I'm excited for that.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. A couple of comments. First of all, I want to say that Beth is telling the truth about being a handler. Just heads up, if you go somewhere with the superintendent in the community. We were at an event, Van Gogh, amazing event, opening night. Everybody was really, really excited. And so there were several people in office, in public office, who were being introduced. No one cared until they said, and our new superintendent is here. The crowd erupted. I got nothing. The crowd got nothing. All right. And I got nothing. Right. None of us got anything except for her. And then there was a line. Will you please? There was a line waiting. I mean, and that really does show. So it's just exciting about the community wanting to talk, wanting to share. Some share concerns. Some share, hey, look, I hope you take a look at this. And some, hey, this is my experience with my kid. And so, I mean, all of that. So I just want to say that's true. That's true. Secondly, I'll continue the Love Fest. I'm around talking to a lot of people in the community, and many of us are right now, and I got into a conversation about special ed. I was at a home that had some educators in various capacities, and all of them had some connection with special education, and we started talking about what was going to be on the agenda, because it was this past weekend, and they began a Love Fest on Jen Van Trest. They began a love fest on just the real deal, really cares, knows their stuff. I think that's exciting. I mean, and I say that to say that we really do have. We're in a really great position right here in the district to do some things we've never done before, some things to revive, like the special advisory committee or whatever it is, however it is that you call it, to really pay more attention again, right, to our most vulnerable students that need the help, that we have a commitment to as well, and where the community is saying, hey, we're excited about what's going on. I mean, to hear those things, it just does my heart good. It's like, great. There are people that are paying attention, that there's some really good things going on. Now, to the motion, before we have the no, we're ready for it, Council has shared that he has a concern that the motion, and he's kind of talking about it, that the motion talks about system changes to better focus on specialized instruction. He said system changes, and it says to approve position changes and costs, position changes, but not a new position. You want to share that, Council?
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned. I hate for my last meeting to throw a curveball at you.
This is why it's your last meeting. No, I'm kidding. No,
but yeah, the open meeting laws require that we give clear and complete notice, and the notice we've given is to approve position changes and costs. I've been looking at the attachments, and I don't see any mention of creating a new position. The standard of germane to it, which is the argument we could try and make, has been rejected by our courts, and I'm just afraid that if we vote on creating a new position, it's going to exceed the notice that we have given.
Okay. Then we will not entertain a motion at this time, because we certainly don't want to be in violation. We'll ask that this come back
the next meeting.
At the next meeting, and because I think I see the sense of the board, we'll bring it back on consent because we've had the conversation.
Okay.
So certainly no reason to go back through the conversation again. So just hit me up between now and then if there's something, if you'd like to bring, matter of fact, if you'd like to bring something else up, please bring it up now. Because remember, we do have something on consent. If we've already deliberated, it will take 2 trustees to pull it off. So this is a good deliberation time for it now. Trustee Church?
Like we talked about before on cost, what we have to approve for legal, I guess, does the superintendent have the authority to move forward with a temporary acting position before the next meeting?
Would that fall under the, or does she even need our approval to do that? Is that your question, Trustee Church, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, my read of the rules, and I can double check this if we take a break or something, is that, yeah, she would have the authority to have people acting within roles, just not the creation of a formal position within budget. So she can certainly assign duties as needed, and I think that would fall within that, but the creation of a position is the problem.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good question, because that allows the process to continue to go forward. You're just getting close to that Padre game. That's why you're patting yourself on the back. But that allows it to continue to go forward, and then we can bring it back on consent.
Thank you.
This time, okay?
For the...
Yeah, no, that's why he's here. That's why he's here. But that's a great recommendation, Trustee Church, from that. So that any other comments on agenda item 5.05? We know we had no public comment on that, and we will bring that back as described. Okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you for doing that. And I know there's more to come, but that's something you wanted to jump in right away, and I don't think anybody disagrees that certainly is deserving of the immediate attention that we can give it. So we'll turn to our board reports, and we will start with our student trustee. I always like to just bump you up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Miss Ivy.
So, yeah, we had our first council meeting that the superintendent was at. And Laura Davidson, Brad Rose, and Adriana Publico, they've been on a hardcore recruiting process in all the different schools. And so we've been able to get a few different representatives from each high school at the current moment, which is really exciting because last year we really only had 4 consistent members. So we have about 5 times the size now, which is wonderful.
All right.
Yeah, and we had to pull up more chairs and everything, and a whole bunch of other adults have stepped up and really helped with the process and reestablishing the council. So I've been really excited and really thankful about that. We also had a retreat this last weekend, so we got to talk with all the different students about problems that they see more in their schools and ones we would want to address as a whole council and ones we would want to solve throughout the course of the year. And a big problem that came up was topics around student engagement and students being engaged in their learning process, and having connections with teachers, and how we could better establish that, and also making kids want to go to school, you know, increasing people actually attending school. And yeah, so that was the main things that have come up, but we're definitely getting ready to start the solution process and try and implement changes throughout the district and see what we can do. So I'm very excited. So thank you.
All right, fantastic. It's exciting that it's going so well and getting it moving beginning of the school year. All right, we're going to start a little different. We're going to start with Dr. Diane Nicolette for board reports today, just to mix it up a little bit.
Love that mix them up.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, I went over the last time too, so I'm going to watch myself.
I
so.
think I have someone on this side who's got the 1 minute card. One's got
we
the
need to get
2-minute
those.
card.
Or just a red piece of paper.
Okay, time starts now.
All right.
Ironically, Ellen and I, Trustee Minetto and I, visited Marvin Piccolo, and it was a wonderful experience. And so I will kind of piggyback onto our current discussion. Marvin Piccolo has an enrollment of about 96 students, and every student has an IEP, and they are preschool through just about 24 years of age. And IEP, Individualized Education Plan. And it's under the IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So it's federal. It's things that we have to do because they're right and good to do for our students and our families. I could talk forever, and I won't. I'm watching the clock. They have a program that's, excuse the acronyms, but we educators love our acronyms. They have what's called a PACE program, and it's a job development, work development laboratory. And students with very special abilities have an opportunity to practice skills with the intent of providing them with a pathway so that when they graduate, the question is always, graduate to what? When they graduate, they will have opportunities available to them to work in a variety of businesses: computer technology, construction and industrial, business marketing, production, consumer services, just a vast array of opportunities that are built for students with special needs, so that they can, as you can imagine, they can have that sense of belonging, they can have that sense of worth, of being able to contribute and have a full life, you know, to the best of their ability. And Marvin Piccolo School does an absolutely marvelous job with family resources, because, as you can imagine, there's a point in a parent's life when you have to and you must address that your child has a special pathway, and what can we do to ensure that they're successful, they're happy, and that they have that sense of contribution. So, spent marvelous time with Principal Matt Burek and Assistant Principal Jody Prudente. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience, and I learned a bunch.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good job, good job, good job. Okay, Trustee Mayberry. Let's turn your mic on, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I'll be brief. Thank you. I had an opportunity to tour and meet with the principal at Rise Adult Achievement in the last couple of weeks. Really enjoyed my opportunity at that time and learning about all the after hours programs and before hour programs, and how we lift up a lot of our adults in this community that have either neglected their education or life happens, and many inspiring folks attend Rise, so that was a great opportunity. Also really had a great time seeing a live performance down at Demonte Ranch High School. I can see why they're the signature academy for performing arts. Really fantastic show that I attended. And then finally, Craig Gustafson. I want to give a shout out to Craig. He's a Sparks resident, a 1962 class of Sparks High railroader. He painted all the poles and the chains, gold and red that border Sparks High. If you've been out there, he did that on his own. Paid for the paint, did his own labor. It was brought to my attention by some members of the Sparks City Council, so I wanted to really give Craig a shout out. You know, there's just a lot of pride in being a railroader in Sparks. And so,
Yes, there is.
thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Mayberry. We'll go to Trustee Church.
Thank you. Number one, I've said it before, I appreciate the professionalism. I hope the audience does that you see here on this board. You don't see that at other boards. And the humor, the banter, I love it. It helps ease things, and I think it's extremely appropriate. So I just think anybody watching has to know it's a very professional board. So basically, I didn't attend a lot of schools, but I went to a homeless conference in Las Vegas. And you might ask, well, why would a trustee go to a homeless conference? And by the way, the only cost to the school district was the mileage up and back. We have an amazing number of unfortunate, at-risk, homeless students, sometimes called children in transition, in the district. You'd be amazed. We also run the family resource centers for families in need. So it's extremely related to what we do here, and it's an area. I used to be on the homeless board. I was a board president of a 501c3, so it's something I care deeply about. Unfortunately, there were probably 150 attendees. The mantra was more taxes. That doesn't go over well with me. I think, there's other options for helping this, but it relates so much to our children because, as I said before, if they go home at 2:30, they're still in need. They're still homeless. They're still potentially going out with gangs and getting in trouble. So we are a big part of that puzzle for dealing with the homeless and the children that are at risk so that they don't become, even the ones that aren't homeless, we don't want them to be homeless when they're 22 years old. So anyway, it was a great conference, and we are going to be hosting it in Reno next year. It was the first annual, will be the second annual in Reno. And so just maybe it's going to be during the summer. Maybe the host location might even be at one of our facilities to save a little cost so they don't have to rent something else. So just putting it out there. But that was my stuff to talk about, unless you want to see trips of my wife and I exploring ghost towns of Nevada, hitting more dirt roads than you would believe. But I don't think that's the right time and place.
Good call, Trustee Church. Thank you, sir. Although I hope you had a great trip. It sounded like it was. Trustee Smith.
Thank you, President Taylor. All right, I'd like to start with a congratulations. We have received a very important award in partnership with KUNR Public Radio, our student journalists, and also with Report for America. They won an Edward R. Murrow Award for excellence in diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a national award for student reporting, and again, that's in partnership with KUNR and then also Report for America. So that's a very, very amazing accomplishment. So congratulations to them. I met with Dr. Diane Nicolette. So quality of education, we've been talking about this for a while. I am very honored that I was Dr. Nicolette's second on that. So the actual agenda item itself to take action on this topic actually began with Vice President Nicolette, and I was very honored to be her second. This was quite a while ago, and we have been working on it ever since then. So the work the community is seeing now through Superintendent Enfield is really work that's been going on for quite some time, and I'm very, very pleased with where that's going in its direction. I met with a student journalist on dress code. I spoke with other community members, and on that topic, I'd like to talk about some of the information that's out there in the community. There's quite a bit of misinformation and falsehoods, quite honestly, that are going around with the district. This is not new, but there's definitely an uptick in it. Rather than focus on those falsehoods, I'd like to say thank you to every single community member that reached out to me for the truth. And they gave me an opportunity to not just tell them something, but to bring them to a website, show them exactly where they can see this information for themselves, objectively and honestly. And so I would like to say thank you to everyone who reached out and gave me the opportunity to show them objectively what is real. I also visited Swope Middle School, and boy, was that fun. Okay, so Swope Middle School is like the Benjamin Button of schools in the district because it's both 60 years old and a not even quite born baby because it's not quite done. So it's both things. So on a footprint that we could not grow because we're landlocked, they managed to make it 40% larger. And then really that's what allowed us to bring our 6th graders and create a true 6th, 7th, and 8th grade school. I was there with Principal Nakashima. It was amazing. A few things that stood out for me is that the older parts of the building were actually refreshed as well. That's a big question. New technology, new floors, new lockers. So all of those areas were touched. One of the things he's also doing that I was very, very excited about is that they have their student leadership group creating a new behavioral rewards program that reflects what students want and what actually motivates them. And I thought that that was great. And student leadership is not just about all the kids with the best grades. It's about all the voices and really inviting those in. So I love the way Principal Nakashima is doing this. So huge kudos to our building staff, our building partners, and the faculty who worked in a full-blown construction zone and the pandemic. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Trustee Smith. All right. Trustee Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, first and foremost, I do want to say that today was amazing. It was a long day, but all of us got to go and attend I believe it was our third.
It's our third in 6 years. It's 2 in a row, and our third in 6 years.
Third in 6 years, we have Mrs. Hall, that was the State Teacher of the Year, and I think that was amazing. And yeah, very.
Yes.
It goes to show the staff that we have, and it's incredible. And I, kind of like what Mr. Shaver was saying, having those relationships and working with different forms of government. We had the governor there, legislator, representative, our state superintendent. So it's awesome that we all united around this teacher and celebrated. So I thought that was awesome. And then kind of just going back to a previous presentation, just meeting with the community members. One, a lot of the community is very happy that our buses are back on schedule.
Woo-hoo!
So,
Yay!
And the community is seeing that we're having these obstacles and we're addressing it and tackling them, and we're doing them at an incredible speed. And again, I think that has to do with us as a board and uniting behind our current superintendent. So out there in the community, just seeing the engagement, that kind of goes along that I know like Trustee Mayberry and I have a town hall with the superintendent here coming up soon. And again, just reinforcing those relationships with other officials. I have another council member who's going to be joining me on a school visit next week. So this is where I believe it takes a village. Have all these relationships, all united behind kids, no party lines. I think that's very important. So. A lot's coming up, a lot's going on, and I think the community's seeing it, and a lot of it's very positive. So, yeah.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. Trustee Manetto.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I would like to start off with, because I went to the DeMonte Ranch Performing Arts thing also. Play, I shouldn't call it a thing. Got to meet the gentleman he's the president of... What's our new middle school down there? Oh,
what, Polakitas?
No.
Marcy
middle
Hers.
School. Hers.
Marcy Hers. Marcy Hers.
Sorry.
Woo!
That's not even brand new.
Middle school, so Marcy Hers.
Hey, did you stop my clock then?
Okay.
Marcy Hers. The principal of Marcy Hers rewrote this story. It's a children's book, and it was about a rabbit, and there were 5 actors, and they played lots of different parts. It was just darling. In fact, my son went straight to the library to check out the book.
All right.
And then let's see. I visited Sparks High School. I just love the CTE things they have going on there, as we all would. And Alice Maxwell, where I got a new sticker. I'm not sure where I put it. I think it's over here.
Dang.
New sticker. It's got the world on it. And not for you. And, oh dear, now I've got September up. Oh dear. Sorry. It's October, right. Oh, stop it. Okay. Well, hang on. Oh, there I went. No, there I am. Yes. Oh, yes. We went to Polaquitas. Thank you. And then, Pocolo. Thank you, Pocolo. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
All righty.
I didn't have a very exciting time.
Okay. I have to tell you, thank you, Trustee Minetto. Considering that half of the time we've had since our last meeting has been fall break.
Oh, break. I missed some.
I mean, right? You can just carry over to next. I mean, this has still been there's still plenty of things to do, activities that have to do with just supporting the district and the work and the students and the staff and so on. All right, so let me start my time. I was just saying, hey. Eppolito's going to be all over me if I go over again, so hey.
Galactic Angie Taylor Day.
That's right. It is International Angie Taylor Day. No, but no extra time. That's okay. I went over last time, so let's go. Okay. I attended the NIAA meeting, the Nevada Interscholastic Activities and Athletics Association. That's where athletics are part of it. We compete. Rollin Starworth, who's really our district athletics director, does an amazing job being the president of that group. Big meeting. I was there in Vegas for a day and a half. And it was just really cool to see they're every few years they look at realignment. They're looking at it again. Be looking for this. Also, new state law that was passed is in our district we will have a parent representative on that board. And so working with, and then Clark will have one. I think there'll be one or two from the rules. And so staff's working on working with schools to get interested parents and so on. And then. Oh, that's right. We already did that, huh? I talked to Rollins and we already did that. Okay, well, just so you know, that's right. Consent. That's right. Thank you. It was in my head for that. Thank you. All right. More time. All right. I had a chance to have some conversations with some of our teacher leaders, really, that represent our teachers, the WEA, the Washoe Education Association. We're on funding. Right, and the issue that we continue to talk about. So I think the more people that we have talking about it and working on it, then the more opportunities we have to hopefully say, how do we make things better? I went on the tour of Switch, first time ever, and the reason I mentioned that is that's the data warehouse. They hold all the data, and I didn't really even understand how until I went out there. That's where our data's held. And they actually went to show me, said, this is where the Washoe County School District data and the security around it is awesome. It's amazing, the things that they do, and the fact that this even came up in his mind. I mean, it's just really, because, obviously, it's on our radar, right, as it should be. But it was really good to see that one of the foremost data security companies in the world, one is right here in our community, and that they have our data. So that was awesome as well. And then last night, I was able to attend a celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day. And talk. I didn't know I was going to talk there, but they asked me to talk, so I did. And I just talked about some of the programming that we have here for our Native students in the district. The Paiute language programs, and just some of the things that we've been able to do, and can really do that and talk about that proudly. And then finally, in my time, this is our final meeting with Anthony Hall, Council. Thank you. Thank you very much. Last week was fall break, so it didn't come together like we wanted to. We have a swag bag for you. Yeah, it's more bag than swag right now. Just because we ran into fall break, so it's more bag than swag. But we just appreciate so much you coming and being part of it. It was a hot seat when you got here, but you've been so consistent and so knowledgeable and so open. Right, and looking at things when there were challenges and so on, and you came and were exactly what we needed you to be when we needed you to be. And that's not an easy thing to do. So thank you, appreciate it so much. Thank you. Come on, let's get. All right, and on that, we never ask you if you have any comments you'd like to make. That can be a part of board reports. Would you?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. As you said, it was a hot seat coming on. I very much appreciate the opportunity to work with everyone, and this has been very educational for me, and frankly, a lot of fun. This has been great learning more about the school district and the work that's being done here, so thank you all very much.
Well, we appreciate your work, and Anthony Hall, his firm, they're some of the ones, we have a couple of firms that when we need to get outside counsel for school district things, they'll continue to work with our legal team. In those areas, but you've been involved in a lot and have helped lead us through a lot of things. So can't thank you enough. Really can't thank you enough. All right, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, Thank you, Madam President. I will just echo what Trustee Rodriguez said. We all here had the opportunity to celebrate Mrs. Connie Hall today as the 2023 Nevada State Teacher of the Year. Her family was there, most notably her beautiful little granddaughter Camila. But I'm grateful that Superintendent Ebert and the governor were there to share in this, and that all of the trustees could be there. And as I think I said there, Ms. Hall, I had never met Ms. Hall in person, but I feel like I know her because we follow each other on Twitter, and we've gone back and forth on Twitter on different things. And she shared a quote of hers the other day that I read aloud today when I got to acknowledge her, and she says, "What I do for students and families goes outside the walls of my classroom and school. What I teach goes beyond 180 days. How much I love and care goes on for a lifetime." And I think that sums up the beauty that is the teachers and staff in this district. So, Ms. Hall, thank you for representing our teaching staff so well. We are so incredibly proud of you. It was just a wonderful celebration. And I do just want to acknowledge and thank everyone across the district, and COO Adam Searcy is here, that we were able to move away from the area rotation schedule and get back to the hub transportation schedule today, so that all of our students are getting transportation. I know this was something that was weighing on all of us. I'm grateful to everyone who made that possible. We can do hard things when we come together with a shared purpose of making sure that we're serving our children to the best of our ability. So deeply grateful. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. She got stuck across the country and then got here for at least most of the day that we shared here today. So, all right. Thank you very much. Let's see if we have any closing public comment, JJ.
Colleen Westlake.
Welcome back, Ms. Westlake.
Hi again, Colleen Westlake, and I honestly can truly appreciate the positive energy in the room and acknowledging teachers, parents, the community. I just a little cautionary. They're doing their jobs. That's what they are being paid for, is to teach our students. If we should expect them to be wonderful teachers, we should expect our parents to be wonderful parents, we should expect our community to be a wonderful community, and we should hold people accountable for what they are supposed to be doing. I think it's great to say we appreciate you, but I'm kind of missing something a little here when we are making something so big out of what should actually be expected. Okay, I'm expected to do my job. I was expected to be a mother. So I just think we need to kind of look at that a little bit. The other thing is we must acknowledge the need to increase our scores. Washoe County is last in ACT. Washoe County is behind Nevada's ACT. So we are dead last. Something is amiss here. We need to figure out what that is. I love being positive. I don't really like to get negative. It really doesn't accomplish much. But if we don't take a look at these things and figure out why we're last in ACT, why our absenteeism is up, why alcohol and drugs are up, why violence is up. I do have to say, for Superintendent Dr. Enfield, I really, really liked your plan. I think that's a great starting point, but you first have to acknowledge that something is off the rails. Then you need a plan, then you need to implement that plan and have certain goals that you want to meet. But we keep sliding further down the hill. I'd like to see us start trudging up that hill a little bit. And I'd like to end on a positive note. Like I said, I think that's a great starting point, what our new superintendent has planned. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westlake.
Jeff Church.
Mr. Church, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff Church. I wish I had good news. It's not Good news, it's something we'll get by, but I want to discuss memberships in nonprofits, 501c6 advocacy organizations, ask you to seek out a legal opinion, as well as discuss the use of staff time and resources for political purposes. And I'm over here, whether you consider it as a citizen, but it is a formal request. In summary, the question at hand is, per the Nevada Revised Statute, Nevada Constitution, etc., can we belong to 501c6 lobbying organizations? The questions I basically have, and there's a handout there, I don't know if it went out or if it will, does WCSD belong to a 501c6 lobbying organization spending over $33,000 a year on such? Did WCSD spend $4,782 specifically for a NAS lobbyist, not for membership dues, for the lobbyists? That's undefensible.
Thank you.
Did WCSD send out a political endorsing op-ed series in May of 2022? Did WCSD use staff time and resources for political purposes? After I formally complained in writing, in September of 2022, did WCSD send out a political candidate endorsing fundraiser op-ed written by the chair of the Washoe Dems that's using staff time, staff resources, and the Washoe email system? Finally, did WCSD sign, vet, approve, or clear a email from former board president Katie Holland Simon on a political op-ed in a manner that was not afforded to others? If another candidate said, hey, will you sign off or clear my op-ed, would you do that? Of course not. Therefore, an investigation is needed, not by an expensive law firm, but by an experienced investigator. This is not going to go unchallenged. Now, I only have 55 minutes left, but in your handout, I go through the fact that the chamber is a 501c6. It lists various memberships by the school board, and I'm told we're not a member. We need to tell them to cease and desist. I list Nevada Revised Statute 386-345 that states we can only belong to state, national, county, school associations. That means and no other. I quoted Nevada Revised Statute 281A earlier. I have various various attorney general opinions basically that say we can't belong to these type organizations. None from Nevada, but I have plenty of them nationwide. And finally, a quote, because I have 12 seconds left, from Katie Holland Simon. Quote, further, I have not submitted it yet until I get it cleared by the school district. That's outrageous. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Church.
John Eppolito.
Welcome back, Mr. Eppolito.
My name is John Eppolito. You can find 1,500 of us on Facebook at Protect Nevada Children. You can also find us at protectnevadachildren.org. I wanted to talk about these two surveys, the social and emotional surveys and whatever the other one is called. The ones that are given to students without prior parental consent. You guys have been doing it for years. Student login is required to take both of those surveys. None of my kids have ever taken them. One of them is, this you've heard before. This is the title of the article. Wyoming is first state to terminate its relationship with Panorama Education, co-founded by U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland's son-in-law. This one is especially problematic. This you've also heard before, this article by Jennifer McWilliams, illegal SEL data collection. And according to Jennifer Williams, quote, schools measure SEL success by collecting data on each student, which creates a psychological profile that is attached to their student identification number, end quote. I'm not 100% sure if that's true. I know this district has given the DESA, which is a psychological assessment, to all the kids in 4 schools without parental consent. And she also talks about the student questionnaires and CASEL. Now, I brought that to you guys a month or so ago. I'm sure you ignored it. However, the Attorney General of Missouri did not ignore these issues. He has served Panorama Education with a civil investigative demand. Quote, The Missouri Attorney General's office asked for documents related to any presentations created and given to Missouri client schools. How data from the surveys is collected and stored, and who has access to that data, and how data from the surveys is distributed to both schools and outside third parties, end quote. This is exactly what Washoe County School District should be doing, and as far as I know, no one really pays attention to this. Students have to log in to take both of these surveys. For a long time, we were being told that these surveys were confidential. Why do students have to log in? And then on Panorama's own website, they wrote bragging about Washoe County School District. This was started in September 2018. Quote, on a visit to Washoe County School District in Nevada, you might see students facilitating sessions called SLIME about gender differences in their district's social and emotional learning data, end quote. Do parents know this is going on? This is something master's or PhD students should be doing, not other students. You guys really should look into this. We've brought this before. It just gets ignored. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ippolito.
You're welcome.
Margaret Martini.
Welcome back, Ms. Martini.
This looks familiar, Angie. Panorama, a waste of time and money. With that being said, I would expect a full disclosure of what is happening to the data. So consider this a public records request. Parental notification is what is needed. You need to educate the parents about what you're asking their children and what you're subjecting them to, and let the parents decide. You never let the parents decide anything. You just, vote on it, it's done, or you just throw it out there and subject the children to it, and then the parents as an afterthought. So this was very interesting, this little blurb about Angie Taylor for Assembly District 27. Yeah, 27. So there was a mom with a Nick Polikitis student, and so this reference was probably to the Trump mom. And it was stated in this publication that you inferred that some of our parents were radical Trump supporters. And that should be a reason to recall you. That is about as radical a statement as statements get, and about as inappropriate. We need to look at management audit, according to Mrs. Enfield. She's going to do a management audit of the school district. I don't know if it's just meaning here in this building, but actually we really need to include all of the programs. There needs to be audits on everything that Washoe County School District spends money on that are not related to basic education. Social engineering is not more important than basic education. Maybe if we put the money into basic education, we could rise in the national standings. We have spent way too much money on all these social engineering programs, all of these gender things. That's not the purview of a school district. The purview of a school district is to teach the children and to read and write. And obviously, this is not happening. That is not your goal here, is what I'm looking at. When year after century, or decade, I guess, we're continually at the bottom of the heap. And here we are spending money on all of this ridiculous stuff. Education should be the only goal here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martini.
Michelle Erickson.
Welcome, Ms. Erickson.
Good evening, Superintendent Enfield and Board of Trustees. My name is Michelle Erickson, and I'm a K-2 Strategies teacher at Spanish Springs Elementary School. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you about an issue that is affecting me and others within the district. I don't feel my students in classroom are treated with the same equity they deserve. We collect data on students' behaviors, social emotional needs, communication, safety, eating and toileting issues to address in an individualized education plan. We, the team, determine what's best for the student's success. This year, we have been told by district personnel that the business office says that you have enough staff. It doesn't matter how much data you collect or regardless of student needs. The decision on additional resources will not change. That is contradictory with what we are told during district special education meetings and trainings. The individual education site team makes the decision for the student, not the greenhouse. As a team member, my school completed the district special education matrix on August 12th. Within the site department meeting with a district representative, I have 2 students that did not have a staff assigned to them because there is no staff. Our school site has not heard the outcome, but because my site has complained, we have been given a 30-hour aid to support 2 classrooms. We cannot service 6 students with 1 person. 2 of those students require one-on-one adult support for the entire school day, and 4 must be in general education classroom at the same time to meet their IEPs. Parents are aggravated that their child isn't given what the individual education plan and the team determined is the best for them. I have become a one-on-one aide the majority of my day instead of teaching. Our site has submitted the special education paperwork for a one-on-one aid on August 18th and September 23rd for 2 different students. We still haven't heard a response for our students. We have been directed that we have enough staff within our classroom based on what the business office determined to be the correct staff ratio. But we are dealing with special needs children, ledgers, not a ledger where everything should fit into a formula. Within the business office ratio, there isn't consideration for the safety of my students and myself when there is only 1 adult present, because the other staff member is trying to support students in their general education classroom as stated in their individual education plan. I have students that escape from the classroom, need 2 supports for their toileting behavior issues, biting, throwing, chairs, kicking, etc., then teaching kindergarten through 2nd on different levels of academic, social, emotional needs, development, and communication. I bring these issues to you today because I love my kids, and they and I aren't given the same equity and support we need to help them learn and be effective for their education. These are not easy times to work in any area of a school, but when you as a staff member don't feel valued, should I stop or continue?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Erickson, your time is up, but I think we get the gist of what you're saying. Are those notes? Would you mind sharing the information that you have there, and then give it with JJ, and we'll make sure that staff gets a chance to take a look at that and do some follow-up, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come out.
Amanda Jones.
Welcome, Ms. Jones.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for taking your time to hear the concerns of our school district. My name is Amanda Jones. I currently serve on the union board as a special services director. I also serve as a special education facilitator. I currently serve 8 schools, about 55 teachers, and about 30 special education programs. As you know, we are short-staffed in Washoe County School District. I have cried with my teachers and administrators who are giving everything that they have to give. I know that our special education district teams stay up late, forfeit breaks to collaborate and problem solve with short-term Band-Aids for much larger monetary infrastructural problems. We work tirelessly supporting special education teachers across the district by taking on their job duties as well as extra hours of PD, implementing and supporting with the new IEP software program, program development, as well as instructional practices for our overworked staff as much as time will allow. I have witnessed professionals crying and shaking profusely, not sure if they can make it through the day, let alone through the semester or even the year, as our student needs are continuously growing. Some of our special education teachers and staffing are walking out due to the stress of the special education burdens. Our special education department are all, again, going above and beyond, many working until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, taking time away from our own kids and families to support a rapidly declining infrastructure. We currently have over 300 specialized programs supporting our exceptional students. Most of our staff shortages on the job board are in special needs staffing, including both certified and classified. As you know, certified teacher TOSAs and general education teachers have made incredible sacrifices in filling as many of these critical needs positions as possible, still without avail. We have had teachers leave their classrooms or even retirement to try and fill these spots. Unfortunately, many of them are underqualified, not to any fault of their own, but they do not have the capacities to serve in these critical needs positions, leaving these programs with the need of more support than ever. As many TOSAs were forced back into the classroom, special education teachers were left without the supportive network that were there before to help them be successful and to retain those successful teachers. That support was provided from the behavior department, consult department, SEL department, 21st century learning departments, which is now defaulting to the special education department to fill in for that support. Where is the compensation for the extra students in our classroom or the extra tasks that we have to do because we cannot pay anyone enough to come and do these jobs? Where is the money going for that job that has already been allocated but not picked up? When are we going to say we value you not only as a professional but you as a person, because we are people too? Our special needs students are often last, and our special education programs and teachers are often last right along with them. What are you as a board, what are we as a team going to do about it? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Sierra Connolly.
Welcome, Ms. Connolly.
Hi, happy to be here. I am one of those special education teachers, and I am currently running 2 special ed pre-K classrooms. So I have 13 students of my own and 6 students on the other class's roster. And I just want to outline for you what my day looks like so that maybe you'll think a little bit harder about hopefully giving us some more compensation for it. So I have students ranging from Down syndrome to autism, and I have 19 in my room at all times. We have students who elope. We have students who bite and hit and kick. We have all of that. In addition to lesson planning and being their Tier 1 teacher, I am also their special education teacher. So I'm doing all the same work as a gen ed teacher, plus I am doing all the work of a special ed teacher. I'm data collecting for 19 students. I am behavior planning. I am doing progress reports and annuals. In addition to that, I have students in diapers. I change 30 diapers a day. I do 30 diaper changes a day. My aides do 30 diaper changes a day. We have to change them 3 times a day. They're all in diapers, and we spend a lot of our time doing that. Additionally, I wanted to leave last year. I was so frustrated by the way we were treated and the way our special ed department was run and the way early childhood was treating us. And I stayed due to the lower class size, and here I am with 19 students. So I'm trying my best. I love my students. I love my parents. Just please think of me. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Connolly.
Derek Hughes.
Welcome, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you. Good evening, trustees and Superintendent Enfield. My name is Derek Hughes. I am the school counselor at John C. Bohatch Elementary School in Spanish Springs. I'm here today to make a comment on the impact that counselor allocations is having on our school. When our school opened 3 years ago, our enrollment was in the mid-400s. We ended last school year at 720. As of today, our enrollment is 815. When this year started, we knew that we would trigger for the halftime counseling allocation, which provided some hope that we would get some help managing such a large caseload. Count day came and went, and I was told by my administrator that we would not get another counselor because, and I quote, the district does not have the funding. With such a massive caseload, the majority of my time is spent in a reactive posture rather than a preventative one. My ability to teach whole school classroom guidance, facilitate social, emotional, and skill-based small groups, along with the school-wide activities and initiatives that support social emotional learning, are being severely impacted as I am just one person and can only do so many tasks. The majority of my time is spent running around my large building, solving problems with teachers, supporting my admin with behavior, individual crisis management, and covering numerous duties. My day is spent conducting triage, as many times I have to turn away students with lower level concerns due to my inability in time to meet every need. I know that giving our school the halftime allocation does not ensure that we will find a qualified applicant, but to not even give our school the allocation speaks volumes about our district priorities. Mental health, social emotional learning, along with college and career readiness for our students needs to continue to be an area of prioritization for our school district. There are numerous elementary schools, many in my own zone, with significantly lower enrollment numbers that have additional staffing that includes safe school professionals and school social workers. The distribution of counseling allocation does not seem equitable. John C. Bohatch Elementary School and the 815 students deserve better than we just don't have enough funding. The American School Counseling Association recommends a ratio of 250 to 1. Here in Washoe County, the district averages 500 to 1. At 815 to 1 right now, I'm not able to facilitate a comprehensive counseling program, and most days I feel like I'm making very little impact because I just don't have the time or resources to support all of those 815 students and give them what they deserve. Although I do have tremendous support from my administration, I am just spread too thin and I need help. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. The superintendent's taking some notes. She'll be following up on that.
Kaylin Evans.
Welcome, Mr. Evans.
For the record, my name is Kaylin Evans. I'm the president of the WA. I could fill this entire room and every overflow room in this building with educators who can tell you similar stories. We're not here to cast shade on our district. We're here to shine a light on the realities that hundreds of our dedicated professionals are dealing with on a daily basis. The impact that these staffing and resources shortages cannot be truly understood unless you're living it every day. This is special ed, gen ed, counselors, everyone. I'll be 100% honest. It's hard for me to sit in these meetings and celebrate when I know that so many of our educators are struggling so badly. They need to know that they're not going through this alone and that we're all going to carry this burden until it is unloaded. We have to do more, and we have to work with more urgency. We have to act more aggressively. We have to act as if this is one of us that is struggling to this extent, that it's one of you who goes home in tears at night, as if it's one of you that after only 8 weeks of the school year are questioning whether we can make it through the year, let alone teach next year. If we do not do more right now to combat this issue, it doesn't matter how many teachers we bring in next year. We will be in the exact same position because you will see a mass teaching exodus again. Yes, our district is grossly underfunded at the state level. And it is crucial that we do at the legislature, but we can do more as a district right now at all costs, right? We have teachers being crushed by short staffing. We have educators who do not have the needed tools and resources in the classroom right now. And we have tens of millions of dollars sitting in an end fund balance. At what point is it a rainy day? Because right now, to these educators who just spoke, and to hundreds of other educators in our district, it is flooding and they are drowning. All accrued savings from unfilled allocations need to be going to those educators who are over their caseload max. They are servicing the children in our community above and beyond the staffing guidelines and receive zero additional compensation. We need to avert any remaining ESSER funds or use money in the end fund balance to make sure that all educators and students have the tools and resources they need in the classroom right now. And we can use end fund balance to address staffing needs. Our educators desperately need your help, so let's be bold and take action. And comments were made earlier to be very clear. Educators are absolutely doing their jobs, and though they're doing them within a system that is built for them to fail, and they are succeeding, and so we should be praising our educators every second that we get. And if you're making these types of comments, you have zero experience in the classroom, and you should really talk to an educator and understand the realities that they're facing before we make comments like that.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
The board received an email from Richard Peterson.
Okay. Thank you, JJ. All right, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing your public comments. We do appreciate that. Our next meeting is right here, October 25th at 2 p.m.